just to get this out of the way, with Shaq Barrett unretiring today, are you and Chris open to his return at some point next week or beyond?
Just to be candid, obviously there's a reason why you target and sign somebody, and then kind of I was fully caught off guard or caught by surprise this morning as I found out, and I would be it wouldn't be reasonable or I really haven't had a chance to think about it. I think the team is counting on me to think about the Packers, and I'll get with Chris and we'll work through that. But there's a ton of implications that go along with it in terms of team and roster stuff. So we'll work through that. As we just got the news today.
And with Tyus Bowser, that sort of popped up, 2 injuries that he's dealing with. Do you expect him to be available Thursday?
He's working through it. He's a competitor that really wants to play. So we'll give him what is today? Tuesday, Wednesday, a little bit, and we should know more tomorrow.
Where are you with Cameron Good? You said he was ahead of Bradley Chubb, but is he at the point where his window can open?
Are you asking, is he good? He is Cam good. Have nothing to report other than nothing, no setbacks. They're getting closer for sure, and there's a lot that goes into it. But Cam is approaching good, or he is good, or he will be good.
What made Marcus made the choice to make room for Patrick Morris?
Tough decisions. You're really a lot of roster variables and positions. You have to take into account anybody that has an injury in that position group that affects the depth. So when you're trying to make tough decisions and it involves a safety, a lot of times it comes from the position group. But I absolutely have high regard for Marcus, and I would say it's less about him and more about Pat and the stuff he has to offer. He's ready to go.
Mike, if I can, just one more about Shaq. I know he kind of surprised you guys with the retirement in camp. Had you guys communicated with him at any point up to this week of that he's contemplating this before?
No.
Yeah.
That's why it's just kind of news as you guys got it. It's to us, so we'll sort through that. The Tuesday of a Thursday night game is it's a little it's tough to kind of totally know the way. I mean, I got to talk to Chris first, and I've just got done with the meeting and about to go to another one, so we'll get to that. But hadn't had any communication.
Earlier today, it was announced that Tyreek's tickets were dismissed. Knowing that the season kind of started and you were emotional about everything that had occurred in week 1, do you have any response to that? Did you hear about that his citations were dismissed at all?
I have a lot of people make me aware of a lot of things, but I think with regard to the business at hand, I did go into depth into that situation when it occurred at the very beginning of the season, but I don't think it'd be prudent relative to what this team is preparing for, and I don't really have much else to say beyond what I already have.
Packer defense has 22 takeaways, 8 games with multiple takeaways this year. What makes them so good at taking the football away from opposing offenses?
I think, when you're talking about takeaways and turnovers, so much of it has to do with the variable that you can't control, and that's effort. Like and you know, the Green Bay Packers, the defense led by Coach Halfley, is a very high octane, high effort crew. So good things happen when you are pursuing the ball and have high strain, and you know, some of those fumbles become turnovers when you have a collective effort. So I think, to me, it starts with the overall strain. They're very ball aware. You can tell that they talk about it a ton. And you know, a good zone defense that plays with vision, and then has the accompanied pass rush that can, you know, maybe make quarterbacks make a decision, you know, a hair earlier than they would like to. You leave yourself vulnerable to risky situations when pass rush and coverage are tied together. And, you know, I think ultimately they do a good job of taking advantage of mistakes. You know, you have an overthrow. Generally, it's a pick. A lot of guys with ball skills in the back end. So I think the collective effort, it doesn't surprise me that they rank where they do without even seeing the takeaways directly based upon how they play every play. You know, when I did come across the takeaways, it was I wasn't surprised, because they play each and every down that way.
You follow Mike, the balance in this offense right now, the ability to sustain and elongate drives. Do you feel like this style is better suited for success in cold winter environments like the one you're about to see on Thursday?
Yeah, well, I think you know, the variables that you can't control, like your opponents, your matchups, you know, and weather. You know, I think being able to adapt to circumstances is vital. I think being able to be aggressive, you know, when attacking a defense, you know, inherent in that is being able to have success in a multitude of ways. So being able to show up on a game day and survive the elements. You know, maybe you show up and they you know, defenses flip the script and play. You know, it's an 8-man front and they play 2-man all day, or they're a 2-man team and they just play zone spot drop. You're constantly trying to you know, sharpen the axe, so to speak, for you know, every team in one way, shape, or form faces elimination games. In elimination games, you don't choose the matchup, you don't choose the situation, you just keep playing, or your season's over, whether that's to get in the playoffs or in the playoffs. So I think it's important for teams to be not subject to matchup if they're trying not to leave it up to fortune for their success or failure of the season.
I wanted to ask you about your history with Matt before. You guys were together for 3 spots.
Mm-hmm.
Does that, having an intimate knowledge of a guy who's been on your coaching staff, you've been in meetings with, knowing his thought process, does that, and him knowing yours, does that help or hurt you in the process of preparing for a game like this?
You know, I think just based upon successes and failures as your career goes, I think, you know, for me at least, earlier in my career, knowing information or things that I thought that I knew, you know, you can kind of overthink certain situations. I think ultimately with Matt, like I just know that the team's going to be super prepared. The second that I start crystal balling things based upon the past, you know, that I'm leaving myself vulnerable to, you know, if he's still working hard and changing, which I know he is. So like, I think the biggest thing is as a coach, I have such a high regard and respect for Matt. He's been a big part of my career, and was really helping me along during my career path when times were tough and when things were going well. And through all that, I know that regardless, his standard is that he prepares his team, offense, defense, special teams. He's going to be detailed, and they're going to be ready to play, and they're not going to take you lightly, and you're going to have to play good football to beat them. So that's where I kind of like leave it based upon my past. The second that I've absoluted something to a coworker or a fellow coach, I got that out of the way before I was a head coach, because I'd do it and then you're wrong and you're like, sorry, and as a head coach, people tend to at least pretend to listen to me more. So I try not to overly crystal ball, but the one thing that I make sure that the whole coaching staff and the team knows is that they're not going to come Thursday night. There's going to be a prepared, motivated team that's going to come after us and going to give us their best shot.
Following up on Omar's on Matt, given your relationship, is there any, I guess, fun story or friendly wager that you think about as you prepare to play Matt this week, or I guess coach against him?
No, I mean, beyond like some nonsensical, just some nonsense texts that I sent out after our game on Sunday that may or may not incentivized. Like I was just I was giving them the optimist, like, hey, if you don't feel like trying that hard, it's okay. But no, just you want to talk about things that I probably shouldn't say in a press conference at a microphone. We're at our late 20s, just cutting our teeth in the coaching industry, and like what's funny is when you look back, you don't feel like you're young in your late 20s, or at least I didn't. I thought I was like an adult, but some of the things that you think as a football coach, you're not nearly as hardened from tough times, and you think you have some answers, and you get humbled along the way, and just some of the growing that we did as coaches, it was very, very impactful. And he really pushed me and some of the other coaches I was working with, because he's a tireless worker, and that type of competitive nature as you're cutting your teeth as a coach in the league, it's a big deal, and it's gone a long way in my career. I think the world of him, and it doesn't surprise me the success that he's had. He's I'm just gonna have to concede he's probably the best looking guy out there. I mean, let's just be honest. So I'll concede that title for sure. You think so? I don't know. You think so? You prefer Sean McVay to Matt LaFleur? I can't wait till he hears that.
Very different question. A lot of players have shared, that the times that they've watched Thanksgiving night as they were little. Do you have any special memories of watching games on Thanksgiving night?
Yeah. No, I think it's, I think it might be the coolest game to play in the regular season. I can remember. You guys might remember a snow game with Leon Lett. That's like one of my first TV memories. I was in Fort Morgan, Colorado, population like 12,000 people in Northeast Colorado, and I remember sitting there watching that, and I think it's unique and special because everybody can relate to. All right, well, I know that my family's sitting down they're just my uncle Ray is sleepy because he always eats too much turkey, and all the different nuances of family time. But it's always kind of centered around watching football. After old school people would watch the parade and stuff, and then you turn on the game. So it's something that everybody can identify with. That it being a holiday experience that is annual. So it's a cool thing to be a part of. You feel very grateful, and it's always a cool experience for to have that platform and have everyone jump into your season journey and get the opportunity to play in front of America. So it's a really cool one that I don't think is lost on anybody.
Mike, did you get a chance to evaluate Jordan Love when he came out, and if so, how have you seen his evolvement as a quarterback?
He great player. I think he what's been cool is anytime you watch people have expectations thrust upon them, and then to be able to grow as a quarterback, and you can see the influence on his game that he took from Aaron Rodgers, but then you can also see him play his own style of ball. I think the way he competes is real cool. I think he's not afraid of the situation. He will make the long, intermediate, or short throw. So it's been cool to watch him develop, and I know how Matt has a fun time coaching him. So.
With Isaiah Wynn activated, did you envision a reserve role at first for him, and could there be competition down the road?
I think one foot in front of the other. I think right now, Isaiah's a competitor, so he's working to be his best each and every practice. And as coaches, we don't always have the most patience in the world, but I think it would be silly of me not to take into account there was a year where he didn't, almost a calendar year where he didn't play football. So you're trying to put players in positions to succeed. I love him as a player, but I'm careful not to put him in situations that isn't prudent to his success. And there's also some guys. Rob Jones is really playing at a high level, and the facilitation of Brew and both Rob and Liam has been a strength of ours during the course of the season. But you love those problems, and and in terms of there's only so many spots in the field that guys can play, and so I'm happy for Isaiah to continue to work and feel better and better each and every practice, so that becomes more and more difficult for us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.